The Lorax. Classic story by Dr. Seuss that we all grew up listening to and maybe have watched. And no, I am not talking about the Lorax from 2012, not that 3D animated movie. I'm talking about the original Lorax from 1972. A lot of people might not have heard of this or even remember it from decades ago. But back in 1972, there was a Lorax movie that was released, and it actually followed the book pretty well. It actually covered the book almost page for page, but of course, as all like movies and adaptations of books, they add some slight scenes that are a little different than what happened in the book. But this Lorax actually follows the book almost page by page, and it is a great example of what a animated adaptation of a book could be like if it's done right today. So a man named Fritz Freleng created a animation studio with another fellow animator from the Warner Brothers company, because Fritz Freleng was most known for working as a animator for Warner Brothers for all the classic Looney Tunes. He was well known for adding music to go with the dialogue and certain scenes and emotion to do with what the characters were doing in the Looney Tune cartoons. And they were really popular and they did really well at the time.
How's that, Chunky?
Say, that's a right smart picture you got there, partner. You know, I'm fair to middling with a pencil myself. Look at here. Quit looking over my shoulder. It bothers me. There. How's that?
It stinks.
Why, you...
So in the 1970s, early 1970s, Fritz Freleng started his company and decided to do an adaptation of the Dr. Seuss The Lorax. There weren't many animated adaptations of Dr. Seuss's books at the time, and the only other one I believe would have been Chuck Jones's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and that went really well. Of course, that's considered a Christmas classic today, and so they decided to make an adaptation of The Lorax. And if you don't remember, The Lorax's story is basically about a guy named Onceler who comes into a beautiful forest on a horse-drawn wagon and sees a truffula trees and chops one down and basically knits a thanid out of the truffula trees and starts selling them. Makes a lot of money, and then he starts selling a lot and needs to expand his company, so he calls up his family to help him out expand the business and make more thanids. His business gets so big that he eventually cuts down the whole forest, having to get rid of all the animals who lived in the forest. And then while all this was going on, the Lorax is always trying to tell the Onceler to stop doing what he was doing because he was going to regret it and it wasn't right. And then by the time all the trees were gone, it was too late, and the Lorax lifted the seat of his pants and left a small pile of rocks and said, "Unless," to Onceler, to tell him that there was a possibility of reproducing the forest. But there was a little boy who went to see the Onceler, and because of that boy wanting to see him, the Onceler had one truffula tree seed left and gave it to him so he would save the forest. So that's basically the story of the Lorax. And like I said earlier, I feel like there's this film, the 1972 version of this is fantastic. The animation is beautiful for being from the 1970s. There's a great musical tracks in the film.
Opportunities knocking, there'll be no more squawking. We're gonna get rich, filthy rich. No more holes in our stocking. Turn left and
love it. It's a lovely nest.
Try it in soup. It adds great zest.
It'll cure those backache pains in your chest.
Everybody do need a flea. You'll be amazed, you'll be nonplussed. It tastes like bread without the crust. Grooms your hair when it gets mussed.
Rid your home of dismal dust.
It's a natural, it's a must.
There are a lot of points and moments in the film that just give me goosebumps because of when specifically when the animals have to leave the forest.
Good luck, boys. Good luck.
Barbaloot suits, Barbaloot suits. Hiking off to somewhere in our Barbaloot suits.
And specifically, the major scene that really gets me is when the one of the chopping machines chopped down the last truffula tree and it falls down.
And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came the sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we saw the tree fall. The very last truffula tree of them all. No more trees. No more seeds. No more work to be done.
Just great messages of trying to keep the environment clean and everything, but I feel like a lot the thing about Dr. Seuss movies that most people know about, such as like the Weird Cat in the Hat movie by Michael Myers, the 3D adaptations like Horton Hears a Who, The Grinch now, which came out last year, and also the Jim Carrey Grinch. They all those newer adaptations of the Dr. Seuss stories are not done well. I feel like they could have been done way better. Like, they could have been great like the original 1972 The Lorax. It's a great film. If you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube for free. You can just watch the whole thing. If they want to, I feel like if they want to make a Dr. Seuss based movie, they need to use 2D animation and use the art style of Dr. Seuss from the books, because that's what the Lorax also achieves is that it captures the feel of the original book, and by using and utilizing the style from the book, so it actually feels like a Dr. Seuss film. And there's other older Dr. Seuss 2D animated features that came out before this and a little bit after this. There's adaptation of the Butter Battle book. That's a great one.
And I, my dear chap, have a message for you. Namely, I also have a big boy boomeroo. And it's my firm intention, since I have the means, to blast every uke into small smithereens.
Grandpa, be careful. Hey, easy. Oh, gee. Who's gonna drop it? Will you or will he?
What? Be patient. We'll see. We'll see.
There's also one specifically about the Cat in the Hat, the original book. That one's great too, and it might have been done by the same company, actually.
Nothing to do but sit. Just sit in the house. Just sit there and grumble. Then, all of a sudden, something went bump.
Look! A cat! In a hat!
You will note I am neat. Wiped my feet on the mat.
And then, of course, we have the classic Chuck Jones, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That's a masterpiece. That's gorgeous. Oh, and of course, there's also the 1973 Dr. Seuss On the Loose animated short, which is great. It contains multiple shorts. It has the Sneetches, the Zacks, which is a short poem story, and it ends with Green Eggs and Ham.
Well, of course, the world didn't stand still. The world grew. In a couple of years, the new highway came through, and they built it right over those two stubborn Zacks and left them there, standing unbudged in their tracks.
He does not like them, Sam I am. He doesn't like green eggs and ham.
Would you like them here? Or there?
I would not like them here. Or there. I would not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am.
And there's also there's an older Horton Hears a Who that came out way before the new one that we all know, the one from 2008. The original one came out in 1970, and it also was animated by Chuck Jones as well. It was a short that played after The Grinch Who Stole Christmas on the VHS that I have.
On the 15th of May, in the jungle of Newell, in the heat of the day, in the cool of the pool, he was splashing, enjoying the jungle's great joys, when Horton the elephant heard a small noise.
And that is another great example of a classic Dr. Seuss story that was basically converted from the book straight into animation, and it looks gorgeous, and it's again in the style of Dr. Seuss. So if you want to make a Dr. Seuss based movie, you have to get the style of the books and animate that. It could be 3D, it could be 2D. I recommend 2D because it just fits and feels better with Dr. Seuss. But yeah, that's all I want to say about the Lorax. The original Lorax is a fantastic film if you love Dr. Seuss books, and it's a great example of what could be a Dr. Seuss adaptation.